Great. Very good.
Hey everybody, welcome to the June 2022 Becker Patreon Tinderbox session. First and foremost, let me open up and thank you all for your support through the Patreon channel. Your donations help me feed the Tinderbox software habit that I have. It's amazing how many extra little pieces of code and software I buy based on your support. So thank you very much for that. Let's go ahead and jump right into this week's session. Now, Anders, you had emailed me separately. Hang on a minute. You had emailed me separately that you were interested in the draft script, so we can show you that real quick. Did anybody else have any comments, thoughts, questions, things that they wanted to talk about? If not, go ahead.
If there's time. So I'm working on what was probably fairly simple Tinderbox document, but it's one that I'm going to use over and over again. It's a fundraising template for a nonprofit. And I've got various sponsors and information in there, but my output is going to be eventually a file that can be put into a spreadsheet or sent into a report. And I still am focused on the mechanics of reporting. So if there's time to touch on that.
Well, let's do that one really quick because that's easy. So if you want to open up your file real quick and share the screen.
Sure.
Hey Lou, how you doing?
Fine, Michael. Hello, everybody.
What are we going to talk about today? Export spreadsheet. We're going to talk about drafts inputs, and we're going to talk about QDA and email. All right, so let's take a look at this. So it's kind of let me just do this one quickly. We'll look at your notes. Did we just lose somebody? Oh yeah, we just lost Chuck. Okay, he'll come back. So go ahead and click on some of your notes. Now, what are you doing here?
So essentially, it's fairly simple. I've got a bunch of sponsors at different levels, but the key thing here is the donor. And I've got these user fields: the donor name, the amount, how they paid, where the money goes. But eventually, I want the donor name and the amount to go into some kind of dashboard or output report.
All right, now do me a favor. Let's so you've got a logo, you've got sponsored now, and title sponsor. Okay, so you've got different sponsors categories,
right?
And what's the difference between a donor and a sponsor?
So the donor is the sponsor, but the sponsor could have a contact that I'm supposed to be in touch with and a logo to use and some things like that. The key thing, though, is the donor, because it contains the name, the amount, how they're going to pay, etc.
Got it. Okay. That all looks good. And so for me, the fact that you're bringing donor in as a separate note, I'm just trying to think through how I might reorganize that. Also, too, what are you going to do with the logo? Let me just ask you that question before we move on. What's your plan there?
So I was actually going to, in the text field, paste their graphic logo. So
yeah, I was really hoping you wouldn't say that. Right. That is absolutely the wrong way to manage images in Tinderbox. So Tinderbox, and I'll show you that in just a minute on how to properly handle images. Tinderbox bitmaps images. Basically, it takes all the ones and zeros of an image that you paste into that text field and basically deconstructs all the compression. And so with, you can take a number of images and within, say, 10, 20 images, end up with a 100 megabyte file. And it's not going to do you any good at all because you can't export those images out of Tinderbox, out of that note field. So there's no point in actually having them there other than the visual panacea that I get to see a logo. If you actually want that logo to be functional, you want to do it in a totally different way.
That's a link, right? That's a link.
As a media file link, and we'll show you how to do that in just a second. But let's address your issue then here really quick. So I would organize this a little, I guess it's fine, but at the end of the day, what you want to be doing is exporting out all of your donors.
Right.
What I would encourage you to do then is, just for simplicity's sake, create a, and again, here's a question I have for you. Like your sponsor, do you have multiple sponsors under each, like how many, will there be, 5 platinum sponsors and 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Hopefully.
yeah, but again, so what I'm trying to think about from a data structure perspective too, yeah, I would structure this slightly differently. Do you mind if can I take control of the screen a little bit?
Oh, sure.
And it'll be easier, faster for me to do it this way. So I'm going to request remote control. Got it?
Yep.
All right, now let me bear with me while I play around with this a little bit. I'll just like new sponsorship. So what I would do is sponsor, right? And I would say contact type. What's the other? Contact will be a set. Type will be a set. And then what I would do here is, let me go, what other values did you have here? Thank you for just letting me, amount, payment type, fund. What's fund? What is fund?
Fund, it could go into a nonprofit foundation or just into our bank account.
Got it. All right. So let me go here. Fund, payment type. Is that, what did you call it? What was the attribute?
I'll
just do this. Amount, donor name, fund, payment type. All right. So these are your core attributes, right? And so what I would do it this way, I would go ahead here, go P sponsor. So you've got a prototype for a sponsor, and you're going to go up here and you're going to say the type of sponsorship is going to be this. Actually, I'll do it here. Right. So I've got your type, your contact, your amount they're sponsoring. Donor name again was what?
What do you mean?
Donor name
String.
is Lithia Driveway. So that's the name of the company?
Correct.
Got it. So for me, I would call it entity. And set. And I'll show you how that works in just a minute. Okay. So then what I would do here, I would have another directory called entities. I'd have another one called contacts or people. This is doing it kind of quick and dirty, right?
Right.
Go like this, and okay, Acme. And for lack of a better definition, Michael Becker. Okay, so you basically have here, what you're doing is you're kind of you're building a resources library, because you down the road may find, if you run this event again, or if you if they end up sponsoring multiple things,
Right.
you're going to want to be creating an asset of contacts. Paul Christie.
Yeah.
And then this would be, I don't know, Buggy Whips.
Right.
Different companies. And then what I would do here is I would say P entity. And I'd say person you already have. And P entity, I'd go up here and call entity. All right. And then I would also have, I love my little folder icon. It just helps me. And I would give it that. Like that, so I can visually see that it's a folder. So then I go like this as a folder. And that's a folder. This will make sense for you in just a second. Come on. Folder. All right, so now I have those, and now I'm going to have contact, and I'm going to add a little quick little rule here. This is where the magic of Tinderbox comes in. We'll say contact equals collect children name. Right. Say entity. And I'm going to say entity. Whoops. Equal collect children name. There's a bunch of other stuff I do to automate this, but this is like the quick and dirty. So you see now I've got Acme and Buggy Whips. I have Michael Becker and Paul Christie, and up here in the sponsorship area, I can now go up and say, let me reset this. There we go. Oops. That's going to be prototype sponsor. Okay. Yeah. So and then I'll have here, and I'll say sponsorship tiers. Okay, because when you're doing this kind of business as well, what you also want to do is actually I would do it like this. Sponsorship inventory. Right, and I'm going to create another attribute called inventory. Type called inventory. And that's going to, and you're going to see this is like incremental formalization on the fly. Then I'll go back here and I'll go inventory. All right, because what we're actually wanting to do here, I don't want to use type now. What I want to do is use inventory. I'll go like this, and then I'll go here and I'll say silver sponsor 1. Spell it right.
Yeah.
Third. 1. Silver sponsor 2. Because now what you're doing, you're actually being able to track your inventory.
Right.
So you're going to say, look, I've got 5 silver sponsors. I got 10 of these. I got 20 of those.
Yep.
And you can actually say in the inventory. So then you want to add an item called P inventory. Right. And I'll just say for now, is sold. Is sold. You're getting, you can kind of see how I'm evolving this, and so you can figure this out later.
Yeah.
Let's go right here, and I'll go P inventory, and let's say for the sake of argument, I save P inventory is sold. All right. So you can figure out how we can do this later, but watch this. So you'll be able to say later that one's sold.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll want to put the amount on the inventory item itself. Right. And now here's the other thing too, that you want to do something like this. You'll say price. And so the price is, let's say, number, it's like say $5,000. Right.
Yeah.
And then on the sponsorship, you want to have a price. And you can, there's ways to do this when you like link inventory to this. You can make it automated, but for now we'll just do this manual. But let's see, the price was 5,000, but you sold it for 4. Right. So now you can say, was I negotiating, or did I have to give something away? So you can kind of manage your sales process in that process. And then this way now, if I go to inventory, and then guys, we'll get to the regular scheduled programming in just a second, but this is kind of fun. We'll say inventory equals collect children name. Okay, so now that I've kind of got this, you see I've got multiple different kinds of stuff here. So then what I'm going to want to go and do this, I'll call this one resources. And then just to clean it up, because I like to have a little bit of organization when it comes to my Tinderbox files. All right, so there are my resources. Well, that's a folder 2, and that one goes out like that. So there I've got, so here are my resources. And I spelled Acme wrong. All right, so we'll clean that up later. But so you're getting a sense of now I've got my entities, my sponsorships, my sponsorship inventory, the people I'm working with, and now I can go start filling this out. So the inventory is, in this case, this one is a silver sponsorship. It's being bought by Michael Becker, and he works at Acme. Price was $5,000, sold for $4,000. And I don't really need these anymore. Or the fund could be, Rotary Foundation, and they paid by check.
Right.
Right. So then you could also go here. So then you're, later too, when you're, and part of the reason why I do this is I could have a thing here called payment types. Right. And one of them would then be check. So the other part of this is it allows you to be consistent. And so you don't get, you're not interjecting spelling errors, but then you can also use these notes to define what a check is. Right. So then later when you're actually then printing documentation for the program or the event, you've already defined this stuff that you would then put onto a web page or printed material and all of that. We believe a check is this. All right. So then let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to call that one sponsorship. And this one is going to be image 2, and it's not favorite 1, and it's not going to be me this time. It's going to be you, and it's going to be Buggy Whip Company. And because you've got more money than me, you were buying the $20,000 one, and you've actually more generous, paid 25. Right. And then you can think about the math that you could do later, total amounts and sums. And here's the other thing too. If I go up here and I say amount, and just to show you real quick how this works, I could say rule amount equals sum children.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Amount. Okay, so now it's going to go through and say, okay, I've got $29,000 worth of sponsorable items.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so you kind of get where we're going with that, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
So,
what a huge change. Yeah.
And so now I'm going to go here and I'm going to assume that, what did I just do? I'm going to assume that old stuff. We're going to go like this. Not that I want to destroy your file, but I kind of want to do that. All right, so I didn't destroy any of the stuff that you already had existing, but I've just made my new stuff. So there are your sponsorships. Right now we have 2. You can name them whatever you want. Sponsor 1, sponsor 2.
Right.
Sponsor 2. Later we can sort by name and all that. But you're now getting a kind of a better view as to how this is now making your file a lot easier. The other thing you're going to want to do here is media file name. We don't want to put it there. We want to put it down here. Media file name. Okay, and I'll show you this later because I do want to get onto our regular programming here, but let me click away. String. So this is where you're going to go logo.png.
Gotcha. Yep. It's a reference.
Or as a reference. And so you're going to put all of the logos on your hard drive in a directory called logos. And then when you do your reports, you're going to be able to pull from those.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. It's going to make your life just so incredibly much easier doing it this way than what you were originally proposing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, but I'm not done. But there's more. It's like a Ginsu knife commercial, right? So now what we want to do is we want to then open up attribute browser. Okay. And we want to go to general. We'll open up here. We'll run a query and we'll say inside sponsorships. Hopefully I spelled that right. Didn't. All right, so
you missed the S. It's sponsorships.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've and so this is the other nice thing about this. You've got a ton of notes in here, but what you're really asking for is I want to interrogate just my sponsorships. So you stick the stuff that's really important into a container called sponsorships, and then that allows the attribute browser to ignore everything else. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. And then what we want to do here is we scroll down to your users and we'll say amounts, contact, entity, inventory is sold, file name.
Huge.
Right.
This is my report.
Yeah, this is your report. All right. So now you have your report here. Now watch this. This is super cool. All right. So there's your report. All right. So you've got all your items, right?
Yeah.
Now you could play with this a little bit. You could say like summary is by amount and total. So there's your total. So that's another way to get the totals and to work on that. You could also coordinate it by groups and all of that. Now you're not sharing your full screen, so I can't get to the. Would you mind sharing your screen? Can you stop sharing and then reshare your screen, because I want to get I want to use the menu controls of Tinderbox. You're just sharing the file. So stop sharing and then reshare by sharing your desktop.
And here.
Perfect. Okay, now watch this. Here's where some really cool magic comes into play. Oh, I got to request my controls again. Give me mouse control. All right, so can I have mouse control again? Okay, so now what we do is we go up to File, Export as Attribute Browser. And if you don't mind, can I dump this in your downloads folder?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hit this export. And now can you open up your downloads folder for me so I can go look at that file? All right. Now here's that file we just did. So I'm going to double click on that file and open it up. Now here's the trick. It opened it up in an RTF layer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to say format as plain text. Okay. And it says, are you sure you want to do that? And so yes. So now I've formatted it as plain text. You see that?
Yeah.
So now it's giving me a data.txt file, which I now can open up in Excel. Come on, open with Excel. There we go. There you go.
There it is. Oh my God, I've never even seen this. My mind is blown.
How to turn Tinderbox into a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Right. Now, if you're using HTML output and you wanted to, like if it were me and I was screwing around on a Saturday morning, I'd automate the living hell out of this. But that gets you, I think, 85% of where you want to be.
It does, absolutely.
And it will save you a ton of rework down the road.
I can reuse this lots of times.
Yeah. Yeah. So every single one of your events, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. So hopefully that was of value to you all.
Can I ask a quick follow on just specific to what you just did?
You may. Can you share your screen again, Paul, so we can see what he wants to
I want
ask?
to move on. It's actually not even necessary. So just so folks know, we're doing something similar to what Paul is doing, different area, but it's a research thing where I want to get network data in and out. Oh, actually, in, I should say. So, it would be roughly of the type of sponsor and organization who's related to who with at this point, just a 1 and a 0 to indicate relationship or not relationship. So that's probably the simple answer to the question of how to just if you just create a relationship field.
Okay,
Actually,
Paul, can you share your screen for me real
I
quick?
just realized it's a little more complicated than that.
No,
and I
it's
don't
not.
wanna
It's not. Let me show you.
go
Let
down
me
this
show you.
rabbit hole.
No, we can. Can you share that file with me again?
I think I'm doing it. Let's see. This is the,
That's your meeting
Yeah.
notes. Let's go open up the. I think you just. There you go. Okay. So what you're now saying is you have a relationship between. Oh, I need to ask. Get control again. Okay. So because this is an important thing, and this will help Paul too.
It's an incredibly powerful capacity for.
So what do you tell me again? What you want to say? What you want to do?
So, let's just keep it super simple. Michael Becker knows or works with Paul Christie.
Okay, so you want to make a relationship between Paul Christie and Michael Becker. So let's go down here. And by the way, Paul, while we're at it, here are some other, as part of your setting up your folder, like on ads. Right, so I always have the on ad visible on my folders. So then I can go like this, and I'll go here, and I'll say, oh, and I got to actually, how do I resize that screen? Go away. All right, and we'll go folder. Set the. All right. And I can say, prototype. Oh, by the way, this is a little trick I just learned. If you say that equals, so if you use the OR bar equals person, this is wickedly cool. Check this out. So now if I'm going to add a new person here, you see that person automatically gets the prototype person, right? And let's say this one has the prototype P entity, and we'll let Paul play with this later, but my brain can't not do it. So company entities get little corporation boxes. Now watch what happens. If I were to, and I'll say on add, and this time I'm not going to do the bar, proto equals T entity. Okay, so the difference between these two on ads is one has the or bucket or not. So if I move person up here, it gets the on ad of entity, correct?
Yep.
But now watch, if I move it back here, it doesn't. Why is that? Because basically what this is saying is, if the prototype doesn't have a value yet, then give it this prototype. Or if it already has a value, then keep the value you've already got.
Interesting.
So that little or thing is freaking awesome especially when you're doing automation and you're moving notes around. It's a way to keep your not having the automation screw up what you've already done before. So that one's a really good one. Chuck, I think you're going to get a lot of value of that or equals right there for the prototype. So now what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to say, and you're probably going to want to have a field called related. Okay, for the lack of a better term, and we'll make that a string. And then what we're going to want to do is there's two ways to do it. You could do it as a single on action, or you could do it as a rule. So we'll start the first example. We'll create a new link. We'll call it related.
It's a string, not an entity, Michael. I mean, not a set.
No, it is a set. I'll fix it if I made it a string.
Okay.
I'll say related equals links inbound. Dot related dot name. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Paul is inbound related to Michael Becker. Related, done like that. And let's give person So you'll now see that related, did I do it wrong? Oh no, I'm going to do it this way. Sorry. Related equals, God, how do I do that again? Yeah, it should work. No, that's fine. On the related equals name. That's all you do. Like this, and I'll make it a plus equals. So if we have multiple ones going like that, and I'm going to reset that link there. So we'll delete that. And we'll say if Paul is going into Michael, related, Paul Christie, right? And if you want it bi-directional, I can make it go the other way around too, where Michael Becker is related to Paul. It depends on how you want the direction to go.
I actually want to keep it unidirectional so that I can see.
Right. So that's how you would do that. And that's how you're using the linking function to manage that. Now, if you wanted to automate it, you could automate it where, you can interrogate it where you could say, here you could say, related equals, this is where that comes, links dot inbound dot okay. Now there's again, this will hit run. So now if you go here, if I were to happen to delete this link, that relationship goes away. If I recreate that link, it will come back. By the way, we'll have this recorded. I'll share this to you so you guys don't have to, right? So you can take a look at that. But that's how you would do that, Lou.
So
It looks like you also set it up with a set so that you could have Paul
Correct.
Christie related to other players
if I
and they'd all
have-
accumulate.
So if I have Chuck Wade, who is also related to Michael Becker, you'll see that Chuck and Paul are related to Michael Becker.
Right.
And now if I go ahead and delete the Paul link, it's now just Chuck.
That's great. And
Very cool.
just a quick follow-up, and we don't have to do it. So I'm assuming there's a way to export this as well.
Yeah, no,
In the
well,
same-
again, that's
same-
why you put it into attributes. So now let's go
Right.
back here. And for the sake of not wanting to screw up his attribute browser here. So I've got the, oh, this is kind of fun, by the way. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Format, note, view, tab, gallery. Save. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to rename it. It's going to be named to sponsors. If I now go to format, view, tab, gallery. Got it. Okay. So now if I go open up a new attribute browser like this one, and I'm going to mess with this now. I'm going to go here. I'm going to remove these. Okay, and the query is going to be different. This one's going to be just for the quick and dirty of it, related. Does not equal empty. Right, so I've got the one note who's doesn't have a related, it's not empty. Now watch what I do here. If I want to go back here and I go to the gallery and I say, you know what, I actually want to look at the sponsor tabs. God, come on, what's that? Gallery. And I say, copy the tab. There you go. So that's a way to save your attribute.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah. So that really works. So that way, you can go back and not have to rebuild them all the time.
Great.
Okay. And then you could do the same kind of spreadsheet thing we just did with Paul, Lou.
Yeah, and now there's some slightly technical conversion questions about generating a matrix that I will hold for some, offline, as it were. So,
Well, but that's going to then be, let's just, if you don't mind, let's do one other one. Okay, so let's go here so you can do that. And then your matrixy thing's going to happen here, where you're basically going to put, I don't know, I'm getting a bit above my skis because I'm making this up as we go. So we'll say inventory. And then why don't we say by user amounts, right? So you can say, I've got a silver sponsorship and those, and then we can put buckets. Where's the buckets? Oh, how do I do the bucket again? I can't remember. Here? Oh. Maybe it's here. Yeah, I can't remember how to do it off the top of my head all the time, but you can change these buckets. Maybe it's up here. You can actually export this out as a CSV as well. But basically we'll figure out how to do it later, but I could change these buckets. So instead of $0 to $5,000, and you can then, all right, no, actually it's right. So you say $0 to $5,000, we have these sponsors, and above $23,000, we have those. And that's the way to do it.
okay.
The reason this is the one that's summing the total, so you'd want to ignore that later, Paul. But you can do that kind of crosstab for what you're looking to accomplish, Lou.
Okay. Yeah, I have some other questions, but I really will table.
Yeah.
Because I'm not necessarily.
Anders?
Well, could we do the other thing? Sorry, I'll have to leave in about 15 minutes. So I'd be
yeah. So let's
perhaps
do
you
your
can
draft
come back
thing.
to this later.
Yeah. So let's go to your draft thing now. So here's drafts. Okay. And
I'm not talking about the drafts app. I'm talking about the where you roll things. You have a method of when you write an article consisting of several notes, you put that into something that you used to call a draft, and that's what I was referring to.
Sure, let me show that to you.
Because that kept Pandoc from copying all the
Yeah.
each of the notes.
That makes sense. So okay, if we go.
And that sounds extremely interesting, and I've been trying to work out how you do it, but I'm
you want to see the magic, huh?
Yep.
All right. So let me show. I'll do it in my textbook. Actually, that's probably easier.
Because I think that was the problem why you invented that, because otherwise all the Pandoc references will be at the bottom of each of the notes, and you don't want that.
Correct. That's exactly why I did that. Took me forever to figure it out. So that's basically the code. And so if you want to screenshot that, or I'll just pop it in the chat.
Yeah.
Where's Zoom?
Just for those of us new, could you just give a?
No, I'll explain. I'll explain it. Let me explain it right now.
Just to what we're doing. You don't need to explain the specifics.
So the idea is this. So for example, when I'm doing my notes, and let's do an example of it right here. That's a good one, right? So if I'm doing these notes right here, and I'm going to now render both of these in Pandoc, right? So if I try to preview these notes, you'll see that blah, 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 here's all my references, blah, 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 references again. What Pandocs did, what Tinderbox and Pandoc are doing are serially processing the individual notes. And so then Pandoc is saying, oh, great, you've got a reference. Let me process it and stick the references at the end of that note. Oh, you've got another one. Oh, great, let me do that again. And so if you've got this really long document, you've got your references showing up sporadically throughout your entire document, which is a complete pain in the butt, which you don't want. Right. So
you want them collected all at the bottom.
Correct. So what I've done, so in this example here, you'll see here's my entire chapter written in Markdown. And you'll see here I've got a note called draft notes. So when I apply this stamp draft notes that I just produced there, create draft.
Michael, you were great. The draft is ready.
First tells me how awesome I am, because I am. And what that does is it basically, and let me walk you through the code. What it's saying is create the variable, the text, create the path of the current note that you have selected. Then create the, and this is one of the things because I started doing multiple documents and multiple chapters in one file. So I dumped the draft underneath the chapter. And so I say, now make the draft of the path of this document. So that's the draft. Now make the text of the draft, vdraft here. And then, is no show title, and there's reasons why I'm doing that. So essentially what I'm doing is what I'm telling Tinderbox to do, and then say, make the text the export string of whatever the template is of that particular note.
But
so
what template is that you're using there? Is that one of the inbuilt ones?
No, it's the export template. So the value of the attribute export template, which in this case.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, export. So whatever template I've, it's my markdown template. Okay. So it's basically parsing. So essentially what it's doing is it's saying, go grab all of this text all at once, export it, and stick it in the drafts folder. Okay. And now what I do is if I do that, you'll look here and you'll see all of the wonderful citations are at, let me process it as Pandoc. Use Pandoc, there we go. And all of the citations, if I haven't broken it, are at the end. I'm screwing up the demo right now, but you get the idea. That's the way to do it.
Okay, so the problem I was struggling with, I thought
there you go. It just took a second. So you see now there are all the citations for the chapter at the end, as opposed to interspersed between the entire document.
Great. So the point where I had my problems, I thought this was a specific HTML export template, but it's only the value of that, and I just see that I, for some reason, didn't seem to realize that there was a $sign before, so it was a variable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that worked?
Thank you. Well, I'll give it a try later.
And then make sure you say, Anders, you're great, because we're all awesome when we do this.
No, I'll leave it at Michael, you're great.
Okay. All right. So that's what I hadn't planned. So in the last few minutes, let me show you guys one other set of things I've been doing, and we can go again and do this later next week. Are you guys familiar with Otter.ai? Okay.
Yeah.
So Otter.ai is a transcoding service. And what I did was I exported out, let's say, a conversation I had with somebody. So Peter said, started the conversation, said this, and then Wendy joined in 1 minute later, said that. Then Wendy kept talking, and Wendy kept talking, and then Peter came in and said it again. And then Wendy responded, and then Hero jumped in, right? So you see how I have the conversation happening, right? Make sense? Okay. So now watch what happens. So this is leveraging off of what Mark and I have been working on in terms of quality data analysis. So I'm going to now parse that conversation. So I've now, by doing the double quote, I parse the entire conversation into each individual speaker's bucket of conversation. I'm now going to apply the note prototype to those. And now watch what happens here. I'm now going to then apply my create timestamp, my match name, and my length. So these are different stamps I created that basically will go parse the name and stick the name in the contact, stick the timestamp in when they made that talk, as well as calculate the length of how long they talked. So then later I can say, in this conversation, Peter spoke for 20 of the minutes of the hour, and Wendy spoke X minutes and Y number of times. Okay, now you see I did make a mistake here where Wendy's name is still there. So I can go here and I can say remove title from text, and then go do that same thing. And you'll see by doing that, I then can reapply those 3 stamps. Okay, and you'll see now that text is gone. So essentially what I did is I've just imported in a conversation. Make sense? So now I'm going to move those up there, and I'm going to go like here. And now I've created some hotkeys on my computer that as I'm reviewing the content, I can say, well, this, come on, what were my hotkeys? I can't remember. Okay, was it this? Yeah, that was important. That was a quote. This is, this part of the text was really important. And then I can come down here and say, hero, what hero said here was really important. And what they said there was really important. And what we said here was kind of okay. So you see, I'm basically highlighting my text. Now, here's where the magic comes in. I got some stuff I got the part of the Apple script from Sumner and the idea from Tom Diaz on how to go out and parse notes. And I'm using the new shortcuts feature in Apple. So now watch what happens here. If I now run the shortcut on that note, what it does is it automatically goes through and looks at every one of the individual notes by their color, parses them out and says the yellow quote was this, the red quote was that, the blue quote was this. I can go down and now run that script again here. And that too gets parsed. And so you see now we've got the notes, right? So let's just stop there. So I'm basically, and this doesn't have to be a conversation. It could be a PDF file you've been annotating, any kind of text that you're annotating. So I've just basically now gone through that analysis. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my analysis tab and I'm going to open up this in a new tab, open a new tab, and I'll do this. And I'll then now move this into map view. And now I've set up all the following Mark Anderson's process. Why did I got to run the agent? Update agent now. Okay, and you see, say the agent can, so the agent's basically saying, go get me all of the notes in the file data that have the HL highlight in the name. So now that I come here, you'll see then all of the notes from the conversation I was just analyzing are here in the unreviewed. And now I can say, okay, you know what? This was sorry. Open a new tab, map view. Right, now we go, okay. Now what I can do here is I can now have adornments, and I changed Mark's code a little bit that says, on the adornment, it says make the topic equal to the name of the adornment. So now if you look here, if I'm now selecting that note and I now want to be categorizing with note, well, that's an objective. This is a question. This is a regulation. Now and then when I'm done processing that, I'll dump it and done. Here is, this one's about control shift and context and an approach. Okay. And then this one's about an objective, regulation, and done. So let's just do those two. So you see that I've been able to basically now quantify my analysis. And now I can go back here and then run another agent that says, go give me all of the notes that were quantified as objective. Let's see if it's not working. Topic site contains topics objective. Yeah, that agent should run if I wasn't mistaken, right? But we only have a few minutes, but I'll figure out why that's not running. But it basically will then go through and look at all of the notes and come back and tell me, I want it to work, make it work. Objective dot, how about, probably because I need to do the dot format. That's why. Okay. It is a set. All right. Well, I'll get it to work in a minute. So essentially, I then can go back and have an agent run and grab me all the notes that are related, that have objective associated with them. And I don't know why it's not. It should work. What am I doing wrong, guys? Topics.agent. I'll figure out what. So I broke the agent just before the call. So it'll basically, then I can then start triaging all of the items that were in the call. The next thing I've been working on, though, I initially did this because I was evaluating calls I was having with prospective clients and wanting to write a proposal based on the conversation I just had with them. So I did a search that said, all right, give me all of the objectives, the objectives that the client was saying they wanted. I then went ahead here and said, okay, I'm going to draft an email, and I'm going to say, hey, Michael, blah, blah, blah. We had a great call. Here were the objectives you said you had. You know, here's my price. Let's catch up later. Best, Michael. You see that? And you see, I've got a proposal name. I've got recipient email addresses. And now if I open up script editor, you'll see here, I've got a Apple script editor. And if I run that script against the selected note, it automatically produces a HTML formatted email for me. And then if I go here and I change the template, and I actually want it to say be the T-email template, and I want the style sheet to be style sheet 1, and then I run the script editor again. I screwed something up. Oh, I didn't have a style sheet. Style sheet 1, and run the script editor again. Oh, because I've got two templates. Now run the script editor again. Where'd the script editor go? There we go. Got it. So now I've got another formatted email. And now if I change the CSS to that one, and I run it again. What's going on? Oh, I know what I did wrong here. No. I bet it's because I have the wrong template selected. Again. Huh. All right, I did something wrong with my template. Let's see.
Michael, I think something like this Apple script would be of interest to many of us, because I, for example, inquired about something like that on the forum a few days ago. And Mark Anderson just said, oh, this has to be done via Apple script. So it's just fascinating to see that such an Apple script exists.
Yeah. So, okay. So I don't know what I did. And I broke something just before the call. You're absolutely right. And I'll happily share this with you. It took Mark Sumner and I about 2.5 days this week to get it to work. But essentially now, and I don't know what I did wrong with the format, and I'll fix what I did, but the formatting actually properly does come through, and it will show you the different colors and the highlights and all of that.
No, but it's great. It's also, I mean, I could imagine somebody like Paul doing his report. If you want to sort of convert things that you have in Tinderbox into emails and address it to people, if you're doing something like fundraising, I run an association. I was looking exactly for something like that.
Well, I was too. See, I was running I ran a conference.
I saw the videos.
Yeah, and at the end of the conference, I said, hey, everybody, here's your video. Here's your link. Here are the keywords for what you were talking about. And I had to manually do it for like 50 emails, and it was a total pain. Now I've automated it, so I don't have to manually do it anymore.
So could this be shared somewhere on the forum?
Yeah, I'll give you this whole file, this QDA email file, as a follow-up today.
That would be great. Do you email it, or how do you?
Well, I mean, this is just my Patron session, so
right,
the broader community will get it a month from now. You guys get it today. So I'll email it at the end of the call, and you'll find here the link to the shortcut script is here. So if you click on that link from Safari, it will add that shortcut. So that's the highlighting parsing note we just went through, and then there is the Apple script.
And the qualitative research stuff that you do here, that will be extremely interesting for many people who do qualitative research. Has Beck Tench been sort of involved in this in some way?
No, she hasn't. You know, and we've been wanting to get her involved in it.
I know many of my colleagues who do either interviews like you did with Otter, which unfortunately only exists for English, so German speakers are out. But
any kind of QDA this applies.
Exactly, absolutely. So I mean, this is really fascinating.
So the key thing where credit's due. So Tom Weller, back in 2010, did a QDA program with Tinderbox. Mark Anderson, about 2 weeks ago, came up with this new revision of Tom Weller's process. And my little contribution to that revision was to Mark's method of doing it was Mark had hard-coded the adornment value attribute, where I then said, no, just make the tag equal to the adornment's name. But everything else is blatantly stolen from what Mark Anderson did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no, it's further developed. It's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah. So
thank you so much. I'll have to leave now,
yeah,
but thank you everybody, and enjoy your time. I'm sorry I have to leave early. Bye.
All right, see you guys.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Andreas.
So what do you think? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm a qualitative researcher, or at least I was until January when I retired, and I'm still supervising a dissertation, actually two, that involve this. And I'm trying to figure out if I would be able to transfer this to my doctoral students.
Well, you absolutely could, and I think one of the ways to do it is get them to buy Tinderbox. Oh, by the way, here's a version of the email correctly being formatted with the color schemes. So I just wanted to prove that it actually worked.
Cool.
You actually can, and since I'm a student too, I'll happily hop on the call with them and teach them Tinderbox in the process, and we can do it together.
I'm afraid, well, there's a whole bunch of pedagogical issues that I won't get into, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. But yes, so that's what I've been working on, guys. Thoughts, questions, comments, ideas?
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. Keep trying to push the edge.
Absolutely.
Real
All right.
useful. I got to jump out now too, but thanks.
Yeah, Phil, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And Paul, I'm glad we were able to get your stuff straightened out and saved you a ton of time.
Absolutely. This solves a huge problem. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, Chuck, you have anything this week, or are you good?
I had one question for you, if you've got a minute here.
I have to leave too, but I'm happy to let you go.
Yeah, no
I'll see
worries.
you guys later. Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye, guys. And we'll schedule for next July for our next Patron session.
Cool.
Okay. What's up, Chuck?
So, Michael, you must have run into the problem of trying to force outline order within a container.
Yes.
You found a way to do that with code.
Yes. Yes, I have actually.
Okay, I figured it's a problem you would have run into, and
yeah. I mean, again, I don't know your context, but I'll show you the context.
Well,
how I did
I'll make
that.
it very simple. You know, my immediate problem is I want to make a particular note always the last child, or alternatively, last sibling.
All right, let's demo that up right now. Let's so we go up here, we say notes. Oh, actually, I know how to do that. Three. So let's just do 3 notes. And let's say, do you know what the a particular child is? Like, how would you know? How would you know what child it is? What child you want to be making the last note?
I do know that. I mean, it's, again, this is a structured environment. So I have a particular note that probably starts out as the last note, but then with other actions and with other people manipulating things, it is likely that another note will be added after it, but I want it to remain the last note.
Got it. But so at some point you're going to flag that and say, this one I want to be the last note.
Correct. I have a way of knowing which one it needs to be the last.
So you're then going to want to say, regardless of what its outline order is, I want this one to be last.
Correct.
All right. So let's experiment with that. So I would say the sibling order, outline order is that, and sibling order is this. Obviously, I'm riffing right now tremendously. So in this case, you want number 2 to be sibling order number 3, right? You want to resort that based on that example. So then what I would do is I would say, original sibling order. I'll give a number. And then I would say,
You got that a date now.
did I make it a date? Whoops. Okay. And then we're going to say rule. We're going to say
Unfortunately, you didn't hit the return, so it's still
no,
the
it
date.
doesn't matter. It will update in a minute.
Yeah, okay, there it goes.
Okay, I know what to do. Then I need to do run an agent. Right. We'll say inside. Okay. And we're going to say, so there's that. And I'm going to say original sibling order equals actually, I'm going to change it. Original order. Okay, and then we're going to come back here, click here, go back here because I changed the name to order. Okay, and I've got to add, and let's just make our lives a little easier here. We'll go to prototype, and we'll say notes. We'll say okay, so now we have those, and I know my original order now is this. I've already got
You got it there, don't you?
Okay, yeah. So I know my original order is 6, 7, 8, and I want that one to be last. And so I want to say, okay, so now I want to force this one to be last. I know the original order. Oh, that's how you do it. This is probably the easiest, right? So if I go like this and I say sort by original order. Okay, so that shouldn't change because my original order is still this, right? And then I say, okay, and now I'm going to say, I'm really hacking this right now, just so you know.
That's right. That's right.
Order. So let's say we'll have a new one called new order. All right. And that is also a number. And then we go here and we say rule, and we say if is last equals false, then nothing else. Oh, then new order. How do I call it? Sorter. Order equals order. Oh. And we'll say we change that from new order to sort order. And we go here. We change this to Not gonna work. Here's sort order. It's going to be something like this. So essentially what you're doing is you're saying displayed attributes. Let's reset it. I think I might want to do it with an agent instead. Let's see, because what I've just done is I've messed up the original order. So if is last, oh, maybe it's +2, maybe. Let's try this. I'm just going to hack it, and it's going to be something like this. Yeah, there you go. Number 2 is now that. So, and then if I say I want number 1 to be last, number 1's now last. Does that work? Something
okay,
like that.
so sort order is.
So now let me add a new one. Now let me add a new one, note 4. Right? So I've added a new one, note 4, and it's still, number 1 is still last. So essentially what I've done is I've said, go get the original order of the notes. And then if it is last, add to the original order number +2, and then sort, and then make the sort order of the original order +2. Make basically something bigger than all the other notes, so that guarantees this one's last.
So sort order is a system.
No, I just made it up. I just made it up. User attribute, sort order.
But you're doing a sort. You've got a sort going.
I've got a sort going. I made a sort against.
Yep, got it.
Order.
Got it.
So I would do it. You know, your context is going to be a little different, but your solution is going to be something like that.
Yep.
Essentially, what you want to do is you want to park the original value, and then evaluate that original value, and then
you don't need the agent there. You were just using that to get order.
Well, I was using the agent to establish the original. If you look at the
original
agent
order,
yeah, the original order. So
yeah.
So I was using the agent to establish the original order, make the original order the outline order.
Yep.
Right. So if I move this one here, right. So again, this was a hack. So I don't know if you want to.
No.
If you want to.
I think you gave me the trick to.
But the trick is
resolved.
Your trick is somewhere in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and just to show you how I've used that in my context, what I do is I go through and I say, hey, Tinderbox, go through and grab every image in the file. Right? Then what I want you to do is take the outline order of the original and the outline order of the sibling. And then what I want you to do is then renumber the caption number based on the sibling order. So I have Tinderbox go and grab all of the images that are in the file, then sort by the outline order of those images in the file, and then use that outline order to actually be the caption number. So that way, if I move the images around in the file, the caption numbers automatically change.
I got it. That's clever.
Yeah. So that one took me a while, but it's pretty cool. It's awesome. It works great because now I can move files around and images around and change them, and I always know my caption numbers are accurate.
Yep. Cool. That's a helpful hint. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So hopefully today's session went well for you.
Yeah, no, it was it's always very interesting seeing how you've tackled some of these things. So
yeah, my pleasure.
And the qualitative stuff is, strangely enough, it's something that my partners and I have done a lot of in the past. One of my partners has developed an incredible array of spreadsheets to deal with that kind of qualitative data analysis where we're out interviewing, people around the world about internet governance issues or things like that.
Yeah.
And, I was just, when Mark did his presentation of Tom Weller's original approach last week, I was just, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what got me to do it. It's like, I'm like, okay, that's really cool. And then literally I had 2 hours to write a proposal. Right. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to get through this entire call in 2 hours and be able to get a cogent proposal? And I did. And we've got a follow-up call with the client in 20 minutes, or the prospective client in 20 minutes. And cool. And I can prove to you it works. It's because I was able to go through the entire conversation really quickly, but because I'm working on a proposal in this moment, all I cared about was the objectives. I only wanted to know what they wanted to accomplish. Right. And all the other stuff was background detail I'd want to use later if we win the business. Yep. But at this point, I just want to be able to pair it back to them. You asked for this, I can deliver you that. And here's how much it's going to cost you. And I was able to parse all that through within less than 2 hours and get it done. And it was less than 2 hours. Now that I've got the process, I could probably do it in 30 minutes. The first 90 minutes of that was getting the QDA process refined to the way I wanted it to work.
Yeah. No, it's a very powerful tool and very effective.
Yeah. All righty.
Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah. You have a great week and weekend or something, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we're going to take our first vacation in several years next week.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good luck. That will be
pre-pandemic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not going far, and we're going where we can be outside most of the time, so avoid the ongoing virus issues. But yes.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Ciao.
Yep.
Bye.